Are batholiths. Batholiths are very large, buried, igneous bodies of rock that are roughly dome-shaped and have no sensible base. Batholiths form when magmas are melted in the lower crust and upper mantle. The buoyant magma masses rise and probably become detached from their zones of melting. Overlying rocks are then heated and displaced outward. They then sink and flow beneath the rising plutones. Many batholiths are formed by many plutones. Plutones are smaller bodies of rock that, while still molten, travel up through the crust to the current position. Each plutone is usually many kilometers in diameter and seems to represent one fossilized magma chamber. Much of the granitic material is surrounded by the flowing gneiss rock and then is crystallized in foliated sheets. Large batholiths are formed by many plutones and may be less than 10 kilometers thick. The plutones rise a minimum of perhaps 40 kilometers before reaching their site of final crystallization, which is generally within a few kilometers of the surface. Rock composition. Not all batholiths are composed of the same rock. Depending on the location, this changes the composition of the batholiths. Batholiths are almost always made up of felsic or intermediate rock types such as granite, which is on the left, quartz, which is in the middle, and diorite, which is on the right. Most batholiths are formed from granite magmas. Granite magmas are formed by melting salitic crustal rocks alone. Batholiths are shaped like sheets and mushrooms, which have narrow feeders and spread out high on the crust. There are many in America today. We have preserved and have had them made into geological parks. For example, Enchanted Rock. Over 1 billion years ago, a large pool of granite magma approximately 7 miles below the Earth's surface was pushed up into the rock above in places and cooled and hardened very slowly, turning it into granite. Over time, the surface of the rock and soil eroded away. Enchanted Rock is a visible dome that is part of a huge underground batholith. This batholith stretches 62 square miles and most of it is underground. Through the years, this batholith continues to change and erode. This batholith is considered an exfoliation dome, which means that it has many layers like an onion. When the rock and soil at the very top erode away, the granite expanded because there are less weight bearing it down. That expansion in return, though, caused the dome to split into curved sections. The Enchanted Rock rises roughly 425 feet above the base of elevation of the park, and the highest point is 1,825 feet above sea level, and the entire dome covers 640 acres. Another example would be the Sierra Nevada. The Sierra Nevada mountains are the largest mountain range in the United States. This batholith began to develop when subduction zones formed as the oceanic plate subducted beneath the eastern edge of the North American plate. The oceanic plate began to melt as it descended into the crust and upper mantle. The molten rock formed hundreds of plutones where the area where the plate was melting. Over millions of years, the plutones were deep underground as they cooled and hardened. The tectonic forces of the Earth's surface created a basin and forced the Sierra Nevada upward. Since the batholith was uplifted, erosion increased, exposing the granite in the plutones. The batholith is not just one huge mass of granite, but yet many individual rocks that formed in the plutones that cooled. Many of the rocks in the batholith have still not been discovered yet. The granite batholith lies underneath almost all of the 1,169 square miles of the national park. Is the Black Hills. Many of us know the Harney Peak granite as Mount Rushmore. The president's faces have been carved into this batholith. The Harney Peak granite batholith is composed of not only granite but also quartz, feldspar, muscovite, and biotite. These minerals were formed approximately 8 miles below the Earth's surface from molten magma. Many cracks developed as a result of cooling of the magma and were later patched with molten magma. As you can see, not all batholiths are the same or created in the same way. It took over millions of years for the Earth to cool and melt and stretch and squeeze. To this day, we are still in awe of what the Earth has given us and try to preserve them by making national parks around them. Thank you.